All right, thank you so much. One more time, the program still this morning on RTV. Dominic is on the standby in Abuja, where he's going to be taking a first discussion this morning on fire incidents in the FCT. Dominic.
Of the FCT Fire Service, who is already seated in the studio to shed more light on the incidents that happened a few days ago regarding the Samsung and the Canadian Embassy fire. I have is PRO FC Fire. A very good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right, I wanted to bring us up to speed on the two incidents that happened a few hours ago, or 2 days back. And the Samsung office, I think they happened actually the same day.
Yes, very much. The one of the Canadian Embassy, it happened, unfortunately, as a result of this. Like I usually say in this type of there is unsafe act, there is unsafe condition. Unsafe act emanates from the staff, that is, being given the safety rules and how to observe them. They will now, maybe out of carelessness and fault or disobey the rules, and thereby committing an unsafe act. That, if it causes accident, it is their own undoing. But unsafe condition is as a result of the organization, the company, or the firm itself, like in case of the embassy, placing a diesel storage tank inside the generator house. That has been there for long, so it's an unsafe condition for the staff to work in. So when the heat from the generator, maybe they use generator for a long time that day, and it produces this heat, the heat now impacted the storage tank, and it gave in.
So are you saying that was your plenary finding?
That finding. As a result of that, the storage tank busted, splitting its content on the generator that is already here. So that, because fire, when it wants to happen, things must combine: the fuel, the heat, and the oxygen. So the three things have actually combined, and there was fire. That thing is there. This staff that are designated to work in that generator house, they were 4 in number. They were doing some routine maintenance from our finding. And as they were doing it, there was no way for them to escape because the storage tank is at the entrance. So while they were trying to escape, the fire catch up with them. And you can see that 2 were fatally injured, and the other 2, they are.
Were there no preventive measures to have installed inside on that generator house? For instance, we keep talking about having extinguishers and all that. Wouldn't it have been possible for them to have an extinguisher
in such a confined space? The extinguisher will be of no much benefit. One, the fire was an oil fire. It will not start small, that you can use primary first aid firefighting equipment like extinguisher, extinguish it. It will, because it's exploded. So as a result of such explosion, it has overwhelmed that particular vicinity. So there was no way, even if there is a 50 kg fire extinguisher inside the generator house, they couldn't have access to it and use it as a that material thing, except the one that is outside. And it would be too small to extinguish such kind of fire.
So what was the first fire? Was it just the generator house?
Generator house. Of course, it was limited to the generator house. When this was called, That's why when we came in, we first of all extinguished and making sure that it did not affect other adjacent structures. And you know that it has caused the damages already because of the 2 fatally injured victims, as well as those that were rushed to the hospital for treatment.
So if you are to advise now you just mentioned they had a diesel tank stored inside the building where they have those generators. Would that have been the best option for them?
Of course, it is a worst practice and not expected from a enlightened embassy like Canadian embassy. So I think from my boss submission after the incident, he said we are going to carry out fire risk assessment of all these embassies. At times we do have issue with going to these diplomatic missions because of their stringent rules of how to come in, but we have the right to carry out risk assessment premises. So we want to fire on that now to carry out risk assessment and making sure that best practice is being applied. So the best they should have done is that tank are installed outside the generator house and being piped to the generator house, so that if there's anything, it will be cut off and there will be no more supply from. So it has a lot of valve like we have in our building pipes or whatever. So it has a lot of valve that you can switch it off to cut off the supply to the generator house.
Okay, let's look at the second fire incident, the one that happened at Samsung. So what was your finding also?
You see, this one, I'm very surprised that Samsung staff, the management, could not call fire service for that fire that happened in their place. It was a good Samaritan who happened to know me. I am the safety consultant to her office. She has a spa, they call it Mozini Spa, very close to Furniture House. I just saw her call. I received the call. She said there's a fire at her house. She was even too confused to tell me the exact place. And I wanted to believe that somebody just told her that there's a fire around that side. So she called me, the first person to call me, after the fire has really gone large. So as she called me, I turned out, I was still in the office. I turned out the Asokoro fire station, and they got there first. Do you know that aside the time that has been wasted for this call to come, the hoodlums were waiting to loot. So when they saw fire service coming in, they saw that the opportunity to loot more will be curtailed. So they now started stoning us. And in that kind of scenario, we have to also observe that simple rule of safety first. We had to tell our to go straight and call the control room of Nigerian Police Force. So they came and tear gassed the entire place, shot guns on the air, and then have access to. You can see that fire must have done a lot of damages before the from the fire service commenced.
So what you were trying to let us know, there was any call as when the fire started?
No call.
Does it mean that probably they were trying to control the fire on their own?
Probably they want to salvage the situation themselves, and it got out of hand before this lady called and we came in.
So were you able to get to the cause of the fire?
Of course. When we made our findings, we were told that the building activity. See, that also brings here that every organization should have a safety officer or desk officer in their organization. Apart from enlightening or educating every personnel or staff of particular company or firm, there should be somebody that is called responsible person, RP, or fire marshal, or safety marshal, that should be designated the responsibility of knowing much about the safety aspect of that organization. In that case, if that welding activity that was going on that day, he will have stopped it and said, no, don't do the welding around the site. Or he will clear some combustibles around there and said, okay, you can go on now. And before such work is being acted upon, there will be what we call permits. And work permit is being issued when taking care of the environment where such hot work like welding is. So it is carelessness, or because they are not well enlightened about that really caused that fire. Because we realized that cartons, empty cartons and some other thing, when this welding was going on, the arcs from the welding particles got into this carton and they went and rebuilt. Before you know it, it has escalated.
So what was the extent of damage from the fire? Because we understand that buildings close by were saved. So how did your men were able to do that? The filling station was adjacent to that very building.
When there is a kind of fire like this that is so large that has engulfed the entire place, what the fire service does is they will ensure that it does not extend to the other structures. The first structure here, I don't know the name of I can't remember the plaza now. They make sure it did not extend. Then look at the filling station, that is internal filling station. It will have been a kind of more disastrous incident if it extends to that place. So we had to curtail, making sure that fire did not extend. So we fought the fire from there, from the front, and then we also discovered that there are storage tanks that serve Samsung from behind, they are all filled with diesel. So we went there, damped the place so that it will not extend to the tanks. And that will be disastrous as well if it extends there. So we were able to save the structures, and that really solved the problem.
If I can deduce something from what you've said so far now, the two cases could be said to be negligence on the side of the organizations involved. Now, take us through, what are some of the safety measures that you feel organizations like this should have on ground to curtail this kind of disaster that we saw a few days ago?
Thank you. We should, apart from having fire extinguishers, adequate fire extinguishers in your premises, you should train your personnel. You should have designated officers called fire marshals as well as safety officer. If you will be training them, you'll be reminding you on the program on how to train them, because you hire and fire most of these staffs. So because of the changes in the staff with time, you now enlighten them, train them on the new trends in firefighting, and they will be up to date in saving their environment. Another thing is this: smoke detectors, like all these fixed installations. There is a policy that says if you are building a structure that is above just ground floor, first floor, second floor, you need to have fixed installations like the water mains, that is this red pipe that pass through, then like hose reel. Like if they have all this, by the time the fire started, it may not have grown so big. You will have used this hose reel or the fire extinguisher, bigger one, and then extinguish the fire. So you need to have all this. So aside oil and gas companies that take safety seriously, every company, no matter how big, how rich, they are so in terms of safety practice. You see, I don't want to mention the name, but the one super mall that really had experience of fire outbreak, they give, since that event, they've been giving safety lectures every month, including today, I'll be there. But right now, somebody else is there. So they're having safety lecture every first Wednesday of the month, sensitizing their people, telling them. So they are as serious as the oil and gas companies. So I want every organization to take safety very.
So when you visit some of these stations and you say they don't have the safety measures like you mentioned, is it that there is no law penalizing organizations or individuals who fail to put this kind of safety measures in place, especially in organizations like we have at hand now that had experienced these fire outbreaks?
Honestly, there are laws that, because we have enforcement units, and this enforcement unit is to make sure that they comply with these rules. But just like we have this economic, they will continue to promise, don't worry, you know the situation of the country, we will get it done in so time. So we do give them that period. However, that is not to compromise the safety regulation. But we do give them this time to observe the safety tips. So we are, let's say, be liberal to them.
All right, let me just hold your thoughts there. We'll go on a quick commercial break. When we return, we'll continue the discussions. All right, it's still the program this morning on ITV, and we are looking at fire outbreaks in the FCT. Focus on the two incidents we have a few days ago. Now, let me take you back to. There was an incident that happened some time ago in the FCT in Kobwa Access, and also somewhere in the central area, I mean Gariki, also one of the filling stations that had a fire outbreak. And some of the findings that we have people selling diesel, fuel, kerosene in residential areas. And now, I don't think anything has been done as in regards to that area, because take, for instance, if that filling station or if your men were not there on time, that incident would have extended beyond what we saw a few days ago. Now, what are you doing to curtail this kind of incident where people who sell inflammable materials do that in residential areas or business areas like what we saw along Barnes area? That filling station, we have two filling stations located very close to business centers.
All right, thank you. By town planning regulations, it's not wrong to site a place close to business area, especially if there's a retaining wall between them. Okay. So there will be no extension of fire from one other place, from the one building to the other. But in the case of residential buildings, honestly, it is wrong. So wrong. And if you look at most of the this kind of scenarios, they extend to the residential buildings, or at times businesses extend from the residential to the filling station. So in any case, the acting director of FCT Fire Service did not wait for dry season campaign to come. Because he noticed all this, we had what we call fire safety awareness and sensitization campaign. It was even during rainy season. People were asking us, what is this? I said, yes, it's the first. Fire has no season. It is more rampant during dry season. So we introduced this and we sensitized people. We went to area councils, we went to business centers like this to educate them that this thing is non-compatible businesses. Don't let them get close to each other, because when it happens, it will be disastrous. So we have sensitized them. Now we are having a very workaholic, minister in FCT who we know that will narrative for us. One thing is that as we have all these laws, we have the enforcement unit, we have the prevention unit. They are preaching to people on what not to do about fire safety. Now we need to have a backbone, a very strong minister that will say, go ahead, in fact, take them to court, let them learn lessons hard way so that they will comply with the rules. And we are having one now in the person of Mr. Nyesom Wiki. And I know very good thing will come after that.
We just hope that we will get to that level where enforcing persons to ensure that they have safety measures put in place. Like from your text, the release you made immediately after the fire, I was looking at your response time. At the time you were called, at the time you responded, 7:30 something to 40, 7:48 or so. That was when you got to that place. So tell us, what's your response time of incidents like this in the FCT?
The mandate that being given to us about our response time is 5 minutes. But I want to let you know this, that because in planning regulations, any city that is being built, and if you want it to be resilient on safety, then every district should have a fire station. It's in the master plan. Or by international standard, 2.5 kilometer radius, there should be a fire station. So if there are fire stations here and there, you will see that the response time will be more effective. You call fire service from Maitama, and they are there in the next 2 minutes because they are situated in Maitama. But we are coming from Asokoro. The call came in, and we still maintain that 5 minutes only for the hoodlums or to stop us from carrying out our job. So in this case, we have free road, we have right of way to even go through one way. But the impeding factors are the proximity of the fire station to the fire scene, as well as time of call. If the fire has already gone large and you are now calling, how do we achieve that? And many people don't have our fire service emergency number, and we do take this opportunity to reel it out.
I know it's just a 3-digit number.
There's this 3-digit number, which is National Emergency Number 112, and there is this designated number hotline for FCT fire
service. What's the FCT fire service number?
09-290-6118. I repeat, 09-290-6118.
I must thank you so much for being with us, Ibrahim Tawhid, PRO, FCT Fires. We'll bring you back again because you talked about the Harmattan season where we experience small fire, so that you talk to the FCT resident as well as on what to do during this season. Thank you again for being on the program.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll return back to our Benin.